Welcome back to another episode of the Know Your Power podcast. I'm your host, Kendall Aaliyah.
And I'm Julia Renee.
And we have no excuse, but we are unhinged today.
We are unhinged.
We've been sitting here for 15 minutes already.
Yeah, just lollygagging.
And already our conversation keeps like switching gears every 2 seconds. So,
we talked about boogers, makeup, sleepiness, and other things that I can't remember.
I couldn't even tell you what
we should just roll it when we're bantering before and see what happens. And then people will be really confused. Like, did they mean to, did they?
And then like 30 minutes in, we're like, welcome.
Hello.
Anyway, today we were talking about, this is the last episode for the Know Your Shredded.
I mean, it could be. It's the Know Your Power podcast. Know Your Shredded.
Do you know you're shredded?
Do you know?
Or are you unaware?
Because I know.
I know you're shredded.
Yeah, I'm getting
I probably know you're shredded more than you know you're shredded. Julia's shredded right now. And I doubt she feels it because that's what prep does. Okay,
I do. Like, I see myself in the mirror. I'm like, all right, okay, she getting lean.
My
abs are coming in.
I was about to say
one at a time. Like right now I have 3 abs instead of just 2.
It's always top to bottom too. That last like bottom abs are hard.
Yeah.
You always have like really good obliques.
Yes.
So I know like you're deep in prep when I like see how like grooved in your obliques get.
Which is just so weird how everybody's body is just so different when they shred down. Mm-hmm. And that's the cool part about bodybuilding in general. When you go to like the Olympia stage or any stage, as a matter of fact, like all the different body types and how everyone has different shaped abs. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how I have strong obliques.
Yo, my abs
I don't
are
know
crooked.
How. Yeah, there's people with crooked abs. There's people with like 8 packs. There's people with, they're like really tiny and they're in a tiny compact space. Mm-hmm. It's just wild.
The abs. I was like, what's abs, in a compact space?
They're like real small.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I feel like it depends on like torso length too. If you look at, I'm going to butcher her name. Isa. Is that?
The blonde one.
Yes.
The wellness girl.
The wellness one. Because there's an Issa in the bikini.
Yes.
Anyway, she has such a long torso. So like her abs are very long. And I always love that look, even though I don't have that look.
Do I have a long torso?
I think you're very like proportionate.
In my head, I have a really long torso, but I can't see myself objectively.
But you also have a big chest. So I feel like that like changes my view.
Cuts off some of my torso. That's true.
Your torso is boob.
Yeah, but I also have short legs, so it's like I don't have much to work with.
I always thought I had a long torso, but I think I'm also like fairly proportionate.
Yeah, I don't think you have a long torso.
Yeah, I used to think that. I think because people would tell me that, and I was like, "You're just wrong." I think it was how I was dressing
I'm
or
just
something.
Taller than you.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, today's episode is about my brain.
How to maintain your weight loss. Because
thank you.
Yeah, this is the last episode of the shredding series. Yes. So now that we've learned all the things, how do you maintain it going forward? Because I think that's one of people's biggest fears is, okay, I've lost all this weight.
Now what?
But now what?
Yeah. And I feel like there's 2 choices you need to make, or 1 choice, 2 options you have when you're coming to the end of a cut. Whether it's a bodybuilding prep and you've done your show and it's over, or if you're just like cutting and you wanted to get to a certain weight and you got there, or sometimes it's intuitive cutting where you're just losing weight until you feel like you're satiated with it. And then you need to decide, am I going to maintain at this point? Well, continue cutting if you see fit, if you have a reason, another show, another goal, whatever. Or is it time to maintain this for a prolonged period of time? Or are you going to switch into a growth phase? Those are the 3 main options of like, which way do you want to take this? I think what's best for everyone is to do at least a little bit of maintenance. Maybe not post-show, maybe bring it up and then maintain. But in general, I feel like immediately jumping into I'm going to start bulking or continuing a cut can sometimes be like a little detrimental to like mental health, longevity, all of those things.
Because then at that point you get your calories so low, and some people do that where that's actually not maintainable. Like a maintenance level of calories should be something that you can maintain. Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening is when you start dropping weight and dropping body fat, your maintenance calories starts dropping with it.
Yeah, so your metabolism's adjusting to what you're doing.
Yeah, for example, if I'm weighing, like 150 pounds or something, my maintenance level of calories is going to be, say it's 2,000. But when I start dropping weight, my maintenance level of calories might be less because now I have less weight to carry around and less physical body to actually maintain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like when you're getting like super shredded for a competition, you don't need as many calories as you did if you weighed so much more to maintain that physique, because the more muscle that you have, the harder it is to like walk around and like do things, and you end up burning more.
It's exhausting, like existing at like that point. Yeah.
Just one of the benefits to having more muscle is that you can eat more calories than like the average person that doesn't have as much muscle. Like my mom's always like unbelievably like, whoa, you can eat that many calories. And it's like, yes, because I have to maintain a certain amount of muscle. But if I didn't have this, I wouldn't be eating this much.
Yeah. And when you're cutting, whether it's intentional or not, you're losing some of that muscle. So that's another reason why you can't eat as much anymore. My voice keeps like going out. Sorry. Anyway, I want to talk about just a little bit, just my experience with maintaining. I'm notoriously bad at it.
Yeah, same.
Every prep I've done, even casual cut I've done, just any sort of deficit, I always end up rebounding. Maybe not immediately. Sometimes I maintain for a little bit, but in the end, I end up falling off track and rebounding and getting to a weight where I'm unhappy with how I'm looking again. And then I have to start my cutting phase all over again. So a lot of this and a lot of the tips I'm giving are coming from experience of like what I did wrong. And also for like the fact that finally this last year was the first year I probably weigh the same amount right now than I did exactly a year ago. And that is the first time I think I have ever done that. So I finally mastered it.
You've maintained the same weight for a year.
If anything, I've fluctuated up or down like 3 pounds, but like I do weigh myself at least once a week and I'm consistently the same weight. And that took me a really long time to get to a point where I could do it healthily and like feel like I'm health. Is that a word?
Healthily? It could be a word.
And it feels like I could maintain this forever. I feel like I'm in a very healthy body fat that has a lot to do with it. Where I'm not like too crazy lean and trying to maintain right now. I'm just like in a healthy state and that makes it a lot easier to maintain. So I know how hard it is. Sorry. To actually maintain your weight loss. I'm not saying it's easy. Like I think it's just as hard as cutting or bulking. I think it's still a phase that you have to like actively try to achieve in.
Yeah, because when you're cutting, there's like a specific plan and you know what you're doing. When you're bulking, there's a specific plan and you know what you're doing. You're trying to like pack on muscle. But when you're maintaining, it's almost like we're in this weird limbo of not doing either or.
Yeah, like not doing too much in any way.
Yes. So that's why we're extreme humans where we like to like go one or the other. So when we're in that middle phase, we're like, what are we doing?
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm going to go into just some tips that have helped me in this last year with maintaining my weight and also talk about some things not to do as well. The first thing, I know we keep saying this throughout this whole series, and that's because it's true. So not to beat a dead horse, but your weight loss journey, your cutting phase needs to be done in a healthy manner. If you lose weight in a consistent, healthy, like 1-2 pounds max loss a week, that's healthy. You're not going to be in such a deficit where you're starving, where you're exhausted, where you can't maintain what you're currently doing. Your cutting phase should be a maintainable thing. You shouldn't be going from eating 2,000 calories a day to eating like 900 overnight, or else your hunger cues are going to go crazy. Your metabolism's going to crash. You're going to feel awful. That's not maintainable. So set yourself up for success for post-cut by making your cut itself healthy.
Exactly. Because if you go way too hard during your cut, this is why people rebound so hard after shows or even just a simple cutting phase, because they've went too hard and they had the pendulum swinging one way and now it's swinging completely the other way.
I notice you make pendulum analogies for a lot of things and I like it. Like it helps my brain be like, oh yeah, it is swinging
one way and now we're swinging the other.
Yeah, it's very true. I think that's why I rebounded in the past is most of my cuts were prep, and I think prep is different. It's its own beast. Like we talked about that in the bodybuilding basics series, is like, it's not for everyone. Yes. Bodybuilding prep is separate from like a normal weight loss journey, I guess you could call it. So that is taking it to the extreme. And that's why I think I always rebounded is I wouldn't even allow myself like an extra piece of broccoli. Like you are so extreme pinpointed. Versus in a like normal daily weight loss journey, you can be that tiny bit more balanced or flexible or realistic. And that allows you to like continue it after the weight loss part is done.
And know that if you just eat a little extra of something here or there, that it's not going to cost you like a trophy or your physique changing or digestive issues because you're so close to a show.
Me. All of my problems I was having.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, set yourself up for success by doing a healthy cut. That'll make the aftermath a lot healthier too and kind of prevent that rebound. Second point is to continue your workout plan. I don't think there should be any reason why you're all of a sudden like switching what you do in the gym, completely changing your split or anything like that. I think the only thing that does change for most people is slowly decreasing how much cardio you're doing. Yeah. I think when it comes to actual weight training, it doesn't have to change much. Like we talked about that in exercising for cutting is like what you're actually doing as far as weightlifting doesn't change a ton between growing, cutting, maintaining, whatever. Cardio does change a lot. So I think just slowly cutting back on intensity or frequency. I wouldn't say cut it to completely zero, although I am a hypocrite and I often do that, but that's what works for me. Yeah. I rather not do cardio and eat less than eat more and do cardio. That's just who I am. So I know you do more cardio.
I think I'd rather do cardio than eat less. I always like to eat more, but that's what happens when people get off of like a bodybuilding prep. There's a what's it called? Why am I forgetting the word?
I don't know what you're talking about.
When you get off bodybuilding prep and you start eating differently, it starts with an R. The reverse diet. Reverse diet. So after people get off of a bodybuilding show, especially if they have a nice coach, they'll help them with reversing out of their diet. So they don't just drop them and say like, here's like, you know, I got you shredded.
Good luck.
Now good luck and go find your thing. So say they get to a really low amount of calories, like with their bodybuilding prep. If you're, say, sometimes they can get to like 1,000, whatever. But when you go into your reverse diet, if you go from 1,000 calories and eating 2,000 calories a day, that huge jump, of course, you're going to gain weight. You might be bloated. You're going to hold on to a lot of water. So when bodybuilding coaches take their clients through reverse diets, it's slow and steady. So maybe they'll bump their calories from 1,000 to 1,300.
Yeah.
And then start reducing cardio from being like 45 minutes 5 days a week to 30 minutes 5 days a week. And then once you start to see the body kind of adjusting to that, then they'll go to 1,500 calories. Then they'll go to 25 minutes of cardio. So see how we're working in little increments at a time to reverse our body back to a healthy space so that we don't stay unhealthily shredded, but we also don't go and be super big, bulky, and lose all of the gains that lose all the shreds that we've made.
Yeah. I think if you don't have a coach, especially, or if you're just like casually cutting not for a show, I still think take a similar approach. I always used to, before I had a coach, I think I would increase by like 100 calories, stay there for a week or two. Did I gain weight? Yes or no, that will change what I do the following week. How do I feel energy wise? Am I like dying every day? Am I super energized? That can also change what I do the next 2 weeks. I wouldn't change it daily. That's a mistake I think people do, is they start like escalating very quickly, and that's how you start to then put on body fat, and then that's how you build discouragement, and that's how you fall off plan.
This is why it's so important to know exactly what you're doing, how much you're eating, what the calories are, because you can literally go in your notes section of your phone or write it in a journal and say you're reversing out of a cut, write what your calories are right now. And then you're starting to reverse and you're going more into a maintenance phase, because you can build a ton of muscle in a maintenance phase. And you don't have to like completely bulk and eat a bunch of calories in order to build muscle. Most likely you're going to put on more fat than you are going to muscle. So in your notes section of your phone or a journal, write down on the left side calories. Like this is what they're at. Say they're at 1,500 right now or something. And then, okay, for a week, I'm going to bump it to 1,600. And instead of doing this amount of cardio, I'm going to bump it to like 5 minutes down 5 times a week. Then go back to the journal or the notes section. And like Kendall said, write what you feel throughout the week. Log your weight. How were your energy levels? You know, were you fatigued during cardio? X, Y, Z. and then continue that process. Like if you're just tracking things on your own, you can definitely do it yourself. But if you're not tracking anything, then how the heck are you going to know if it's working? So going in little increments like that and seeing how you feel each time is the way to go.
Amen.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better.
Amen.
So yeah, just slowly increase and decrease where you need to. And there's no harm in going back. If you notice you upped your calories too much and you aren't seeing progress or maintaining where you want to maintain, say you're like gaining a little too much or even losing a little too much. Like sometimes your metabolism can pick up and you're losing weight again. Just adjust it as you see fit. Like there's no set rule on like you need to do it this way. Like be intuitive with your body, see how you're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, a good rule of thumb at least is if you're increasing your calories by a certain point and you're putting on like too much weight, like 5, 6, 7 pounds at a time, then maybe just dial it back a little bit. Or if you're increasing calories by a little bit at a time and you're maintaining the same weight, or you're even still losing weight, then I have more wiggle room with my calories. I can up it by a little bit more this time and kind of see where we're at. And then maybe you even put on just a couple of pounds and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
Then like, oh, that's good. Like we're in a good spot.
Yeah, just to add maintenance doesn't mean like you're never going to stay exactly 160 for the entire year. Like you're going to go up and down. You're going to fluctuate. Our metabolisms change. Our water retention changes. If you're a woman, like your period affects your weight. Like
you also like put on more muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's also going to change your set point.
I think like being in a maintenance era or like phase is
I'm in my maintenance era.
I didn't know. My brain, again, not working today. I feel like that's like the best for progress in my opinion, because you can put muscle on so easily. You can also really work on like your hormones, your metabolism, your internal health, like your skin, like all of those things that you maybe kind of push to the side when in a cutting or like a push bulk phase.
Yeah.
So I love a maintenance phase.
Gone are the days of needing to bulk in order to build muscle. The new thing is just maintenance and being at a healthy physique that you like, that's not completely shredded and it's not completely bulking.
Yeah.
And then also just still having strength in that period and enough food to maintain yourself. You can still build a ton of muscle in that.
Yeah. And you should be able to stay in that phase for a long time. The next little tip is just to be prepared. I feel like if you're listening to this, that's already one step ahead, because a lot of people don't know what the heck to do after a cutting phase. Like I've had a lot of clients be like, hey, I'm starting to approach a place where like I'm happy with my weight or with how I'm looking. Like, what do I do now? Like, what goal should I set now? And I'm like, oh, this is my favorite part. Like,
just stay there.
Yeah, I'm like, we don't have to touch your food because you're not unhealthily under. You're not doing cardio. Like a lot of my clients lose very steadily over a long period because that's what they like need to learn how to do, is to not approach it like a diet, but to approach it like a lifestyle switch, which is like a huge point of a lot of this is it should be maintainable. Again, show prep is different, but like normal cutting and maintenance phases shouldn't be killing you to do. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Basically,
be prepared.
I explained to them, okay, this is like a fun time to set strength goals and to set maybe like new physique goals. Like, okay, I want to now like grow my bicep by 1/2 inch, right? Moving into this maintenance phase. If your goal is no longer, I want to lose this amount of weight. Jesus. Like we were saying before, if you have a coach, it makes it a lot easier. Or if you have like a personal trainer or anything or anyone to help you, because they will kind of do the math for you. Sure. But like we said ahead of time, if you're like, okay, I'm like 1 pound away from what I wanted to end my cut at, before you hit it, you should start creating a plan of what am I going to do after? How am I going to increase? What do I want to increase by? What do I want my new goals to be, my new physique to be? Or do I fully want to maintain where I'm at? Because that's also an option.
Yeah. And then you can also decide like if I want to move to a meal plan or if I want to move to just like something more flexible, like if it fits your macros, if I want to do more intuitive eating, because you've spent so much time creating a plan that has worked with your shredding goals that you kind of know at this point what to eat, how much to eat of it, and then you can just kind of do
fully what I do now is I don't track anything, and I also don't follow a meal plan, which might sound weird, but like we've talked about intuitive eating, which is just normal eating. Yeah. And that was something that was so foreign to me. But now like I know what I ate in prep. I know how basic it was.
Yes.
So I take those meals and I might add like just like something extra to it. Like I'll still have my chicken and rice, but maybe I'll add like potatoes on a certain day or steak or like things I wouldn't typically have in a cutting phase just to make it more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I'm not adding any calories. I'm just kind of switching out or substituting in to make it more enjoyable. Another thing to be prepared for is, again, like weight gain does happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's temporary, sometimes it's water, especially post-show when you go from like pulling salt and water manipulation. As soon as you have those things in your system again, you tend to blow up or like puff up. At least I know I do. I'm a very swelling person when I'm post-show. So that's normal. Don't let those things defer you from staying back on plan, because it can be frustrating to be like, I'm super happy with my physique, let's maintain it. And then you have like one cheat meal and you're like, oh my gosh, I ruined everything. And it's like, in reality, you didn't, but I know it feels that way. So that's something to also just like be mindful of before you start that maintenance phase, that this is something that is most likely going to happen, is you might become a little more puffy. You might not see as many lines as you did before, and it will regulate eventually. Just stick with it.
Just stick with the plan, and it ends up regulating. It's crazy. There's a lot of people, we've spoken about this before, but will go off their bodybuilding plan or their shred for like a week, and they feel like, oh my God, I've eaten whatever I wanted for a week. All of my gains are gone. What am I going to do? And that's when people just continue down that spiral. They're like, well, I've already done it this long. I've done it 7 days. I might as well do it 8. I've done it 8, so I might as well do it 9, which that turns into years, and then you're back right where you didn't want to be. So if you would have just realized, like, this is normal. My body has been going through a lot and have been working really hard for me, and I can't be this lean forever. And I know that what I'm doing now is moving into more of like a health phase, a maintenance phase. And knowing all of that can help you chill the F out whenever you do start gaining weight, and get right back to a meal plan, and it ends up evening out. I've done it countless times. I've done the freak out, and then I'm like, okay, just get back on plan. And then it ends up going, my weight ends up just going right back where it's supposed to be.
I look back at old photos I would take like post show or after a cut, and I remember telling the people around me of like, oh, I'm losing all my progress, or like I can't stop, or that's when trigger warning eating disorders. That's when like I would binge eat like very aggressively, and then have that guilt aspect and be like, oh, I'm like ruining everything. I've lost everything. What's the point? And then I continue that cycle. This is the time to like break it. Like, this is the time to remind yourself it's okay. That's kind of like the last tip I have, actually, is just to get back on track when you veer off course. That's all you can do. And I say when, because it's gonna happen. You're gonna have at least one slip up, maybe miss one workout, maybe have like whatever it is. And sometimes it's more than one, but everyone messes up sometimes. We are human. You are hungry. You were in a cutting phase for a long time. Cheat meals are normal. Skipping a workout is normal. Do not beat yourself up for it. Like, that's the most important thing. When you beat yourself up is when you stay in that cycle. You just need to get back on track and be nice to yourself and expect it. I think if it's expected, it's less scary when it happens.
It's true. I've definitely, one of the things that I know that I do when I'm done with my bodybuilding preps is like take a week off of training. I know that my body always wants to do that because of just, I know pushing in that way is different than a traditional cut, but I always take that week off, and it always feels so difficult and challenging to go back after that week. But I go back. And even though sometimes I'm just going through the motions and I'm just doing my workout plan and I don't feel too excited or motivated about it, but we just go, and then eventually that excitement comes back and we go back into it. Same thing goes with food. You might not want to eat your diet foods for like a whole week, and just in case you do get off, it's okay. Give yourself grace and be patient with yourself, and just get right back on track as soon as you can, because things will even out eventually.
Yeah, I don't care if it's been a month and a half with you eating off
plan. You can always get
plan.
back on track. It doesn't matter.
Always.
I don't care if it's been 50 years. Get back on track.
Get back on track. That's the mantra of today's video. I forget what I was gonna add to that. This keeps happening to me today.
Kendall has a
I think I have memory loss today. Let me look at my notes. Oh, balance. That's what I was going to go into. Creating balance is going to create the most longevity for you in general in the fitness industry. Again, getting rid of that mindset of I'm doing a diet, or I'm doing this for X amount of weeks. Like, this is not you're doing a diet for 5 weeks and then you're going back to what you were doing before said diet. Like, this is a lifestyle switch. So you need to adapt these certain disciplines and things that you can implement into your daily life. And if it's too much for you, create more of a balance. Yeah. Like some people are not made out for the cardio 5 times a week, 40 minutes type of lifestyle. Okay, can you still get to the gym? Can you still do your weightlifting that day? That's more important than just not going at all. Exactly. Like just do what you can within reason, especially in maintenance phase. It's a good time to find what am I guess capable of time-wise, energy-wise, and like motivation-wise to get done every day. Like what can I give to this part of my life? Because
this phase is honestly just life. Mm-hmm. Like maintenance phase is just living life because we're not always going to be in a cut. We're not always going to be like in a bulk. You know what I'm saying? So we are just learning how to live life. So if you're like me and you struggle with your maintenance periods, knowing like what goals to grasp onto, and this is something that I'm really working on, make your goal learning how to maintain this physique.
Mm-hmm. That's like, been my goal this whole year.
That it's such a simple phrase, but making your goal learning how to maintain your physique and learn how to live life and go and do things, but still maintain a healthy physique. Mm-hmm. Versus like when you're cutting, you're like, my goal is to be as shredded as possible. When you're building, my goal is strength. Yeah. When you're in that middle place, just make up a new goal.
Yeah.
Just be Delulu, make it up. That's what I do. I just make it up.
I think that's what I did this year because it's really hard for me to not have something like that I'm like looking forward to or actively working towards. So I think my goal was, okay, Kendall, you've never been able to maintain after a cut. Let's just try to do it. Let's just try to like stay within 10 pounds maybe of the end of my cut. And I did it and it feels good. Yeah. And I plan on continuing to do it because it's easy now. Like I feel like I'm not actively thinking every day of like, oh, I have to maintain this right now, or I have to do this right now.
What you do.
It's just part of life, which is so nice.
All of this is just
I was obsessed for so long with either cutting or bulking, and I was so unhealthy both ways that, like, trust me, it feels really nice to maintain. Yes. Like, if you can get to a place where you feel balanced, you feel good. Again, maintaining a healthy weight, I think, is important. Like, that weight is different for everyone, but an example for me is typically when I step on stage, I'm in like the mid 150s, and the height of my old bulks used to be like 195. Like I was getting big for myself. Like personally, that was some of the biggest I've ever been. Right now I've been maintaining like 165, and it's very maintainable for me, like 10 pounds up.
Unbelievable is that I'm 5'2". How tall are you, 5'7"?
Yeah.
And we weigh the same right now.
Look at us. 165 club.
Like, how is that possible?
Have you seen your quads?
I guess, but it's just like
You have way more muscle mass than me. That's how that's crazy. Possible.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. I used to, I will say my last show, I stepped on stage at 160. So I think I've definitely lost some muscle, but I also feel better not trying to push and maintain that muscle. So I'm doing okay.
I'm doing okay.
I'm doing just fine. Yeah. Those are the main tips I have. Do you have any you want to add?
No, I think that was it.
Yeah.
There was something that came into my brain and then it flew out just as quickly as it came.
Today's
but that's
energy.
Today. It's today. Yeah.
Next episode's going to be interesting.
Yeah. True.
Anyway, just to reiterate, stick on your plan, but in a more comfortable zone, really. You shouldn't be changing a ton. You should just be kind of fluctuating based on how you feel, how you're looking. It should all be relatively intuitive, as long as you're not post-show. Like post-show, you definitely need to gain until you're at a healthy weight and then maintain. But as far as like actual maintenance goes, see how you feel. See if you're happy. Like our opinions of ourselves are ever changing, I feel. So as long as you feel comfortable in your skin, I think that's the most important. And then you can either go into another cutting phase, go into a more of like a steady growth phase, or just stay there like I've been chilling at recently.
Just chill there.
So hope you, I never know how to end these. Thank you for listening.
We love you all so much.
I know that part. And you're more powerful than you think. Bye.
Bye.